Thokozani, Dumelang. It's your girl, Makosi K. So today, why is it that my videos always look very dodgy? I'm gonna try and move my keyboard, and then I'm gonna try and move my keyboard, and then So sorry about that. I'm always a mess because I'm always busy, but this is something that has been that I've been thinking about for years, in actual fact, for years and years, that I've tried to decipher what is wrong with what we're doing or with the system. I don't know, but I just feel that something is wrong, or there's a misalignment of sort that we should probably, review how we do things. And this is a topic about being a gobela and thwasisa, the challenges that come with it, the difficulties that come with it. Maybe, in my view, what I think is the root, some of the contributing factors to some of the problems that we're facing. And I mean, I've been a gobela for, let's say, this is actually my 9th year as a gobela. So I had my first thwasani in 2014. I had my first thwasani in 2014, personally. Obviously, I'm married to a healer, so I'm not counting the experience of being Mam Gobela. I'm not counting that because obviously my husband would have had his own journey as a Gobela. But in this instance, when I count the 9 years, I'm only counting myself, that I've been a Gobela. And over the years, I've encountered a lot of challenges. There's been a lot of reviews, a lot of lessons learned, and bittersweet moments. Sometimes there's been great moments, sometimes there's been not so great moments in my journey as a gobela, and I think I'm just gonna, I don't have a structure of how I want to tackle this topic, but just to share my own views of the challenges, some of the challenges that we experience as gobelas, what could be the causes, and how do we work on improving or mitigating the challenges that we face. I think one of the first problems that I feel needs to be addressed is that a gobela is seen as a superhuman. A gobela is seen as a superhuman. A gobela is seen as the jack of all trades, someone that knows everything, someone that can do everything. And because society has put, or the healing society has put gobelership on a pedestal, we tend to find ourselves in spaces where if you don't have an answer to what a thwasa is asking you, you feel embarrassed to say, actually I don't have an answer, because they expect that you should know the answer, so you should know everything, so we sort of would feel embarrassed to say, actually I don't know that. Let me go and find out from my colleagues in healing. Let me go and find out from my own gobela. Let me go and consult Badimo and come back to you on your question. I find that instead of saying I don't know, our egos tend to be bruised because we don't know, and we either going to ignore thwasani or bullshit our way out, so it's those kind of things whereby I feel that we gobelas are being put on a very high pedestal. We are human. We don't know everything. We know a lot because of experience. We have a lot of spiritual support from Badimo, and if we're lucky, from our gobelas and our mbande, but we are also just as human. thwasisa is also just as much a journey as it is for the thwasa. Thwasas are different, Badimo are different, so each one of them will come with different challenges. And some of the questions that you would have been asked by TWASA 1 in 2014 is not a question that you're going to be asked by TWASA 10 in 2020, type of situation. So we're constantly also learning, we're constantly also evolving. So that's the first thing, so we're not meant to make mistakes according to the Healing Society or the society at large. We're not allowed to make mistakes. We're not allowed to deviate from the known process. If it's known by the world that this is a process that should be followed, it is expected that we should follow that process. If you deviate by any chance from that process, then you're doing something wrong. Why Ndoso ya Mamang was different and why Ndoso ya Mamang is different, and by Ndoso I'm not necessarily talking about the process of Ilanga Logufa, but I'm merely talking about Twaso generally, so there's certain steps that you're supposed to follow throughout a person's journey. But people differ, I've gotten to learn that people differ, but imu differ, Matwasana will not be the same. So there will be instances where you will have to change the process here and there. But if you do that, it's a problem, So it's that, right? And the gobela gets blamed for everything, It doesn't matter what the gobela do. It doesn't matter what the gobela does. We get blamed for everything. If a Twasa leaves Twaso and they get home and they don't have patience, it's the gobela's fault. If the Twasa misbehaves, go muketing, a Twasa misbehaves, go starating, it's the gobela's fault. It doesn't matter if you as a gobela have shared imithetho with your Twasas. Doesn't matter if you've taught them, you've educated them about the do's and don'ts of the fraternity. Humans will always be humans. People will do them, irrespective of what you tell them. But when when things go wrong, it's never the Twasa's fault. It can never be the Twasa's fault. It's always the gobela's fault, And that's why sometimes we're fighting so hard. We're fighting so passionately to get everything right. We shout, we shout, we scream at the Twasas because we know it's our reputations that are on the line. It's our faces that are on the line, It's always the gobela tried to steal my ancestors because I was too powerful. Or the gobela didn't do things right for me because she was jealous. I was more powerful than her, or whatever. It doesn't matter what happens in between, So those are some of the challenges that we face as gobelas, is that you will go through a journey with a child from start to finish. Not once will their ancestors complain about the process that you're following. Some of it, you even get direct instructions from them. However, they then leave your house and then go and compare themselves with Twasa B from Gogo, so and so. And then they feel that, oh no, okay, so here, they use the red inject and we use the maroon one. Okay, my gobela didn't do things right, So it points back to you. There's also a pattern whereby post the Ndwaso ceremony, Ilanga Logufa, Twasas develop an attitude. Families develop an attitude. They want you to release their child, as in pronto, without even having proper consultations with Badimu. I always say everything boils down to Badimu, and things do not boil down to me or you, the human. Things must always boil down to the ancestors. Badim bareng, so if you are standing there, telling me that you want to leave, because and you feel that you are ready, are they ready to leave now? Remember, your ancestors trusted my ancestors to facilitate the process, but now the human wants to now take over and direct both ancestors to say, you know what, actually I don't like this person that is my gobela, I don't like being here, I'm tired, I want to go live my life, I want to go eat the food that I like, I want to go bath with hot water, and therefore I want out, I want freedom, and it may be for many reasons. And na personally, as a result, I don't like it when I have letwasana that wants to limit the time that wants to instruct me for 3 months. I have a problem with that, I'll be honest, because I feel that it's not up to me. nor is it up to you, the human. It's up to Badim. Yes, we have a process. The process can say you need to go from step 1 to step 10. And step 1 to step 10 naturally can take this long. But it does not mean that you will take that long. Some people may take a shorter time, some people may take a longer time, depending on what their ancestors want. Why would I rush to release you if, as a gobela, I feel that you're not ready? So there's that element of too many rules. You have to not only worry about the thwasana, but you also have to worry about the family. And some of them are not so, such nice people. Some of them are very toxic. Sometimes you go through a phase or like journeys where it's smooth from start to finish. You maintain the relationship with the children or your spiritual children or the mathwasana, even post perso. They still come back. They still see you as their spiritual parent. They still seek guidance every now and then. However, there's those that the relationship gets broken during the process. There's those that the relationship is fine throughout the process, and then you take the person home, and when they get home, they feel that, I'm independent. I want to be independent. I no longer want to be subjected to this person's rules. I no longer want to seek guidance from this person, and therefore I'm going to pull away, and they leave them pande, which is fine. They can go a spiritual journey, haina mafelelo, and khutasa khofele. So that's fine. And sometimes they decide, after comparing themselves with other people, that actually you didn't do what you were supposed to have done. I find that 9 times out of 10, people say the things were not done properly because they've gone and compared themselves to other people, or they had a predetermined outcome and they're not seeing what they had painted as the end coming to fruition. Because sometimes, everybody expects to have patience after twas. Everybody expects to have people walking in, but I always say it boils down to the reason why no twasa in the first place, because not all of us are twasaring or go through the twasing process to become healers of the community, in as much as not every healer is going to thwasisa. We are each called differently, and we each called for different reasons to fulfill different purposes in our lives and in our families. So patience, gobela is to blame. But so those are some of the things that I feel contribute to some of the challenges that we face, or some of the challenges that we face are the ones that I've already mentioned. But what people also fail to understand is that when you have mathwasan, you are opening yourself up. You are at your most vulnerable as a person. They are in your personal space. You're trying to protect your space, your personal space, but at the same time trying to be warm and welcoming. We are married couples, some people have children. I remember one time a colleague of mine in healing had a problem with their child, whereby their child felt that the drums were too noisy for them, they were too loud for them, and as a result they were not able to cope. But these are things that you're not going to take back to your twasas to say, I'm actually having a problem with my child because of the drumming, or my children psychologically have different what do I want to say? Children get affected differently by different things, depending on their medical conditions, right? So you may find that as the gobela, I may have a child with autism, for example, and my child is sensitive to noise, and I don't know how to navigate through maintaining a balance between me being a mother and me being a gobela. And on the other hand, I have a child that is intolerant to noise, but at the same time, I have to fulfill my role as a gobela to drum and then instead of expressing that in a proper manner or finding a proper outlet, then you're just constantly angry, because you don't know how to navigate through. And sometimes, like I'm saying, mathwasana are in our personal space. They are in our personal space. In a normal family or in a normal relationship, there'll be misunderstandings. So sometimes they find you on a day that you had an argument with your husband or your spouse rather, right? And you're trying to protect that, and maintain an image because you don't want them to see how vulnerable you are, or weakness in you as a person, or weakness in you as a partner, so you try and put a facade, but emotionally it eats you up, so it's the balance between the private person and the spiritual person, because everything is happening in the home. Everything is happening in the home. Sometimes you're really not in the best of spaces. You really would want to be alone, but you have a responsibility towards these people. As a gobela, at the same time, you have spiritual restrictions. There are times where you cannot be intimate, and then you have your partner on the other hand who's saying, yeah, if you are not married to or not dating a person who understands, me and you are no longer close because of you are more focused on Matwasan, you are more focused on this and that. And these are the challenges that we go through. But as gobelas, we don't have an outlet. We have nowhere to go and discuss how we feel or some of the challenges that we're facing. Another one that comes up a lot is the financial burden that gobelas carry. If a child walks into the ndumba and says, I can a child out, a lot of us will take that child in. But no one in the community will ever say, you know what, they are able to accommodate bana. Sometimes when you mention the issue of food, contributing towards food, these are adults in most cases. When you set a price as minimum as 500 rand, you want to enrich yourself. There are gross food is expensive. You have to sometimes sacrifice and compromise for your money that is supposed to feed your own personal family to accommodate Matwasan, because somebody doesn't have 500 rand or will give you 200 rand. I mean, no adult will eat 200 rand for the whole month. But we don't speak up about these things. We instead will just carry the burden, take money from Gondumbing and just buy food for everybody to eat. But nobody will ever say that. Sometimes ngwana o shota ka chelta khomo. You're not gonna go ukankasa and telling the whole world like, oh, actually makosi so and so didn't have chelta khomo, and as a result they owe me. You're not gonna say that. You don't even say that to their fellow twasas. So we also carrying the financial burden, to a point where I feel that we need to find a better system to manage finances in gobelarship, if I may put it that way. So, and then haba feta, remember there's an agreement that hona chelete, you'll pay me. Haba feta, when they're done, they 9 times out of 10 they don't even pay back. They don't even pay back. They just walk away, and it makes it more difficult for us over and over and over again to help the next one, because you're like, lona halitusa motho halitusa le re patela ka pakete e tletseng boloko, so that's that. So we're also carrying the financial burden. Sometimes we are carrying the emotional burden. Each one of them has their own personal problems that sometimes you're trying to navigate through. Sometimes wounded from personal issues, wounded because of whatever. You're trying to work around them, and sometimes you try and relax rules to try and accommodate them. Big mistake. I've learned that the hard way. Because you saying, okay, I know this one is going through this and that because of that. Rona Haritwasa, who used to be told clearly, it was al good, it was al gutol, it was al katal, So you knowing from your own personal experience of what Twaso was and the process of going through Twaso, you try and relax certain rules because you want people to be comfortable. But by so doing, I've learned that you're actually killing yourself, because then they push the envelope, they push for more relaxation, they push for more freedom, for more feeling good, So when it's that. And then there's the issue of cleaning, cooking, You ask yourself, I ask myself, if you have a problem with cleaning my house that you found clean and it's dirty because now there's extra people, if you have a problem, you are occupying a space, and this space is someone's personal space. Their family is also there, so we're all trying to make the space livable, comfortable, and we tried not to affect people who were already occupying that space as the occupants done to full time. So if you want to leave my kitchen as a mess, if you want to leave my yard as a mess, if you want to leave the room as a mess, what am I supposed to say as a gobela? Am I supposed to just sit back and keep quiet and watch my house being deteriorating? English. Yeah, am I supposed to watch my house, and fear talking, because then we will be accused of being bullies, we will be accused of being told that Redize Mathosan these slaves. But in the African context, for me, I believe that even as a visitor, if I'm visiting you for a day, yes, it's fine. But the minute it goes beyond there, I need to wake up and help with the cooking, help with the cleaning, help with the cleaning of dishes. Unless the host, say to me, no, get sharp. I understand. No, don't worry. Like you don't have to help. But it's just something that we are taught growing up. So you would expect that by saying arikolo making the bathrooms, arikolo making kitchen, let's do this, are feeling mabala, are cleaning the ndumba. You don't think as a gobela you're doing something wrong. However, it's if you go into the ndumba, you have 10 yamatwasana kamajagde, ugren ndumba ele failed, and you get angry and you shout, you are the problem. Because why should they clean your ndumba? You understand? You are seen as the problem. Why should you clean the ndumba? On the other hand, we are also taught that as Jingaka or as Badimu Varuna must come into clean spaces. So by actually cleaning, you're not doing me the gobela a favor necessarily. I was taught that your healing space should always be clean, and your healing space should always be inviting, and if for this so you're trying to, you're not fighting or shouting because you don't care. You're shouting because you care. They complain about waking up in the early hours. Okay, Kimanga Shapang scoop. Is it a ghost? Because I'm also waking up at 3 a.m. And guess what? We're all waking up at 3 a.m. drumming, and then we're still going to work because we've got jobs. I'm even worse because I'm overcommitted, and then I still have to figure out time to study. So it's not like there's only one party who's just waking up at 3 a.m. We're all waking up at 3 a.m. So it's like I feel like Matosane just don't want to meet the gobela halfway. It's like everything they do, but it's a gobela favor. Everything they do, but it's a gobela favor. And I know, talking from experience, that initially you set the ground rules. You don't shout. You set the ground rules properly to say these are the rules. And as you see the rules, I'm talking about umthetho over here, the rules and the code of conduct, right? The rules being broken over and over and over again. Would you not get frustrated as a person that it's either my authority is being undermined, or I'm just being disrespected as a person, or if it's an instruction that comes from Badimu, then Badimu are just nothing to you as Lotosan. If it's a rule that comes from Mbandi, so the whole clan of our gobelas are being invalidated because you feel that when you want things to be done differently, so there's a lot of reasons why gobelas get frustrated. You tell Matwasani, don't eat this, don't do this, because but when you do that, then you are playing the bad cop and you are the problem, and yeah, you are the problem. So we're not going to problem. Why must you enforce this? But why. First of all, they're saying certain food are not supposed to be eaten. Why. So, and you also understand what it will do to a person's body or to lefatla if they do that. You also understand why. But people just want to shower and be comfortable. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting journey, like being a gobela. The other gap that I find, or that I feel that maybe we could improve on generally as the healing community, is that part where you get your first thwasa, but the focus should not only be on the ditlhare portion, you know. The focus should also be on me going through initiation to become a gobela, me sitting with my gobela and other gobelas for them to prepare me mentally and psychologically of the challenges that are to come or that I may face and how they have dealt with that. I feel that that leg is missing. So to lobola mpande for me should not just be a process of, okay, my gobela is gonna come, ke tlo lobola mpande, and then I'm gonna get squama, thwasisa, and then I'm gonna go through the process from start to finish with my gobela. But what about the emotional and the psychological burden, you know? Readiness, gobela readiness, you know, prepare me, you know, for, you know, unforeseen circumstances, you know, things that you've gone through as a gobela. Prepare me. Let's have honest conversations and stop glorifying bugobela, because there are challenges. There are a lot of challenges that come with it, you know, but there's a lot of growth. I'm not taking away from bugobela. There's a lot of growth. You grow a lot as a healer. And like my husband always says, you know, it's not necessarily of a benefit to you, the gobela, and that's why sometimes we incur financial losses because of the thwasisa. But for me, if the funds are available, that's fine. But for me, the biggest one is the emotional burden. I don't think I'm at a state in my life where I'm willing to sacrifice emotionally for another person. You know, I feel that we need to meet each other halfway. And this is just, sorry, oh God, I don't know what's going on. This is just my own experience, but also by observation of other people. You know, there's a lot of gossip that goes on amongst mathwasana. You know, there is mathwasana who feel that you favor other thwasas. Throw in the mix who is a family member. So you have your own mathwasana, you have a family member who's also now your thwasan. How to navigate through all of that, you know, because this is a person that you know before they became the thwasan. Comes with its own challenges, let alone how other thwasas view your relationship with that person, because they know that you know the person before, you know. So there's a like a trust issue. So they feel that because when they are alone, they want to discuss the gobela, they want to discuss how nonsense we are as gobelas, you know. So this person is a risk to them, because what if they tell the gobela because they are related to the gobela? What if they tell the gobela because they used to be friends with the gobela before they became the gobela's thwasan? You know, so there's also that element. And then it gets to a point where this thwasa now feels that they're not a part of the whole clique, because by virtue of them knowing the person. But as the gobela, you face that, because it's like you constantly have to ill-treat this person. You constantly have to be harder on this person to prove to others that in actual fact, I'm not favoring this person because I know them before you, or I'm not favoring this person because I'm related to them, you know. And, you know, one thing that I've learned as a gobela is that please hold on, I just want to do something quickly. My husband is phoning me from this phone, but I'm using it to record. So if I stop the recording now, then I don't want to create a problem. Hello, Makosi. Yeah. I'm here. Where are you? Where I'm always. Okay, give me 10 minutes, I'll be there. I didn't see the message because I'm busy recording my video. So I'll see you just now. Love you. Sorry about that. You know, so it's only dynamic still, you know. There are so many challenges that I can list. Every time we get wounded as gobelas, every time you gave all to the best of your ability, and then 2 months down the line because we're no more. We get hurt. We are people, you know. We also get wounded, and among that are so unruly throughout the Twaso process, just as much as they feel that they don't want anything to do with you, the gobela. I promise you, there's Matwasane that little nice do gobela, we feel like, you know what, if this one got the hell out of my life, I'd be very grateful, you know. But again, everything revolves around Badim, you know. Everything revolves around Badim. So you're not going Hokobangwana, but you can ask Badim to say, we've reached the end of the journey. Release on my behalf, because I do not think I can continue with the relationship based on 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So it's as if Bona, they can choose, pick and choose when they want to have a relationship with you, the gobela post perso, when it suits them and when it's to their benefit, and when they've convinced each other that you are a bad person and you are not good enough for them or useless as a gobela, then they must go around gossiping about you and all of that. But I feel that we should also be afforded the same, you know. If you feel like, you know what, this one, I think the relationship is broken, we should also be allowed and afforded to just separate amicably without fighting, you know, without, you know, having bad vibes, just to say, you know what, I don't think me and you can continue from here onwards, you know. So yeah, those are some of the challenges, and I find that I'm not the only person that is going through this. A lot of gobelas that I interact with complain about similar things. The toxicity amongst Matwasana bona, you know, during and post perso, you know, the mpande dynamics. Other gobelas speaking ill of you as their gobela to Matwasana, the high expectations that have been set, the predetermined outcomes that have been set by Matwasana and their families before Batla Twasong, you know. And I've learned to actually to zoom into a person's personal life before I get angry at them, you know. I'm a very sensitive person, and I'm a perfectionist. So I used to get very frustrated very easily and very quickly by Matwasani. And, you know, I got to a point and I had to say to myself, you know, sometimes it's not even about me, the gobela. Let me look at this person's life, you know, and see if their behavior is the same even in their families or even with their families. And, you know, funny enough, I've gotten to a point of understanding why some of them are toxic, why some of them are disrespectful, because you see it in how they interact with their families. You see it in how they interact with their friends. You see it how they interact with someone they declare or they perceive as beneath them, you know. So at that point, then I feel that, okay, then they're not just disrespectful towards me, so it's not personal. It's just who they are. In instances where you can rehabilitate the person, you'll try, but you cannot. It's very difficult to change an adult. It's very difficult to change an adult unless they want to be changed. And a lot of Matwasane come into Twaso and they want to live elekiagile. No, you're not living elekiagile. I got into Twaso elekiagile, I left ke le ka mogelo. I left ke le mahlalahleka. And who I was before, you know, has gone through a rebirth. So there are things that are going to change. You're not going to go back to your life and be comfortable. You know, we're facing challenges whereby Matwasana don't want to attend Mikete. And my thing is, if also batla go attend Mikete, but badimo ba o ba twasitseng ile badimo ba go bina, right? Amadlozi a kitayo lao, like, understand? So you're not coming to Mikete to do me a favor as the gobela, but you're coming to make your own ancestors happy. So, you know, it's like tonto rapeletse Matwasana gore e tlang mo Moketeng. So I've gotten to a point where I'm like, ke badimo ba hao ba o ba binelang, ha o binele baka ke ba gago. So little when if you feel like what Mokete is doing me a favor. But kasi Africa also, you know, and rebusetana mouth. So as a Twasan, you get carried by your gobela. So all the processes that you go through, gobela will invite her colleagues in healing, her friends, her mbande, and they will come and support your journey from start to finish. But once also twasong ongaka hausa le twasan, so then you then need to start participating as an individual, so that obusetse batho maoto, and so that Luena, as you grow in your journey, you know you have a network. You know you have a network. You understand? So instead, what we find is that ngwana o thwasitse spilong go ga makhosi kam, and then feels that makhosi kam ke nonsense a ke boele go makhosi kam. Here tsenela ke le thwasane we ya go majoy. So gobela o thwasitse spilong, ngwana o thwasitse majoy, you know. Gobela o thwasitse seXhosa, ngwana o thwasitse makhosi, you know. So those are some of the challenges that I feel, that topics that we need to unpack, of understanding that the spiritual journey has got nothing to do with the person. It has got absolutely nothing to do with the person. It has everything to do with Badim. So every decision that we take, we need to take into cognizance the impact it will have on us as healers, on our journey, you know. So you separate from the Mbande because you're angry at me or Gobela, and then 2 months down the line we can like a little son. What then? You know. So reuse it. Now that it suits you and it benefits you, now you want to come back, you know, after you've gone and spoken ill of me to people, you know. So that's why because they go and talk about us. Understand? Not all of us have bad intentions. And again, I had a session with my coach last year, but it was nothing to do with Bongaka. It was more to do with my professional life. And what she discovered was that, or what she taught me was communicating, you know. And so if I look at myself now and the previous years, is that I get angry and I shout. And another problem is that like my ancestors are just like, you know, the devils wear Prada. They just like that, and you know. But my coach taught me, you know what, sometimes do an introspection and figure out if some of the relationships could have been broken because of the communication style that you use. Is there a better way of communicating? Could I have used different words? Could I have improved on my tone? So how we communicate, could we improve on that as gobelas? There's room for improvement, definitely, because like we say, these are adults. But at the same time, to a certain point, because if I'm going to keep on telling you about Molau and you're going to keep on breaking the rules, at some point I'm also going to lose the calmness and I'm going to shout because you are undermining my authority, you know, and get frustrated, you know. We need to look at other systems. Is the system of having Matosane in our homes working, you know, because now we can separate personal and spiritual. And sometimes you even feel like the handle the robehil, the mechanisms of flash the robehil, you know. And we get frustrated. Should we get into a space of talking about spiritual schools, for example, that we come together as Dimpand and say, there's a temple that I pass on the R25. I forgot the name, but it's a Buddhist temple, you know. Such institutions where we house Matwasan so that we can remove them from our personal spaces. Are we ever going to get to a space of reviewing if the system is working? Because according to me, there are things that we need to fix, you know. There are things that we need to fix, you know. Should we still be living and cooking le Matwasan, or should we have Matwasan staying ko morago ba ikapiela? I was taught gore ko mo motseng o one area pidi pizza tse dintsi. So pizza ke one ka mogare ga motse. Wa understand? So you get torn between trying to have autonomy as a person and trying to be accommodative as a gobela. Wa understand? At the same time, if they cook Matwasan, it's like they're doing you the world's biggest favor. Wa understand? If you don't eat their food, you're also wrong because hajidi jozaron, you know. So there's never right or wrong. Leruna, we are still we're navigating through this thing of we're learning every day. The only thing that I feel that as gobelas we can improve on is on our communication style. But like I said, It also depends on how many times you've really set the rules, you've enforced and tried for you to get to a point of frustration. We need to look at, is it feasible for us to have these people in our own personal spaces? Is it working? Should it be reviewed? I mean, as much as we are saying bona abatshwanele rona or abatshwanele mathwasana 50 years ago, I guess a lot then needs to be reviewed. Should mathwasana just banne separately, baye separately, and then you just monitor and make sure that baja you the right? Because the fear also then is, if you let them to cook separately, then but what can take away, which a company like a problem, because you are forbidden from buying digital strategy because of contamination and mafura adikolobe being used and all of those things. So but you take away to better manage the financial relationships between the mathwasan and the gobela. What do we need to do? What kind of workshops do we need to have amongst ourselves as gobelas? Because we need each other, how can we create systems whereby when you are wounded as a gobela, you can go and offload? Because I was at a point in life where I felt like I want nothing to do with thwasisa, because it just leaves you wounded, and it's not for your benefit. We're not thwasisa, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. You are the bad guy. It does not matter what you do. You are the bad guy. So we have feelings, and at a certain point ralapa, and we withdraw. So what systems can we put in place where Rona di Gobela can we offload? Should we have an annual pilgrimage or a quarterly pilgrimage for gobelas? Should we have pages? And I'm not talking about pages where we bashing each other. I'm not talking about pages where we comparing wena just I'm talking about workshops or systems where we're going to build each other, systems where we're going to provide support for each other, systems where we're going to share challenges and discuss how the one person solved the other and learn from the other person. Code of conduct. Should we generalize code of conduct? Should we have a set of standards and qualities that we'd like to see within our schools? How formalized can we get to thwasisa? Should mathwasana be signing NDAs? Because babang, they go around then discussing your personal life, or like let's come on like munai like una little days at a. Should we be making mathwasana sign non-disclosure agreements, and not just for yourself as the gobela, but also for the patients, because some of them is people that they know, and then if they break the agreement, you sue. Should we also go to that extent? Because we are vulnerable as the gobela sometimes. We are vulnerable sometimes. We are bringing Batu into our personal spaces every single day. Understand? Every single day. And if you have mental issues and you have psychological issues like me, you are a recovered depression patient, you have anxiety like me, it can throw you out completely, and that's why I'm saying I'll go to a point where I'm like, I can't thwasisa. I don't want to have to carry the burden of worrying about a person who's not worried about themselves. I don't want to have to carry the burden of when it suits you, I'm a good person. When it doesn't suit you, I'm a bad person. I don't want to have to carry the burden of carrying people spiritually, only to be thanked, like I'm saying. And some of them, you're not just carrying spiritually, you're carrying emotionally, you're carrying financially, and then in the end, there's no appreciation. So we get wounded. And what the question is, what needs to change? What are we doing wrong as gobelas? What can we improve on as gobelas? What can be improved on? What systems can be put in place for the gobela to help them deal with the challenges they face? Should we consider having pre-petro workshops for mathwasana, so that when they come, they're ready? But now, where do we draw the line? Because some things you can only discuss, you know. Where do we draw the line? Should we have twaso readiness workshops, whereby you tell people this is what you expect? We are gobosoleng. These are the rules. This is what is expected of you. You know, should we have that now, so that they come prepared, knowing that this is what they're signing up for? And should we enforce rules that says, listen, these are my rules, or these are the rules, you sign. If you're not going to be able to obey the rules, we go through a standard disciplinary process like you would in an organization, like the labor relations managers would do. So you'd go through counseling, verbal warning, written warning, final warning, and then you are out of my band because I want peace and I'm not going to keep on shouting at you. Should we put systems like that in place? You know, should we let Matwasana sign NDAs? And I have a lot of interactions, like I'm saying, with other gobelas. We are frustrated, we are unhappy, and we are wounded, because the people that we expect would carry us are the ones that betray us, the number one. And like I said, the journey of gobela haitwane. Matwasane amang are an absolute pleasure from start to finish. Some you even maintain a relationship with them even post birth. Some families Matwasane amang are an absolute pleasure to have, to work with, because they in the manner in which they interact with you is not that of disrespecting you and questioning your authority all the time, but is that of wanting coming to, you know, meeting each other halfway in and the understanding that we're all working towards the same goal of having their child affected their spiritual journey in the right way, you know. However, you also have toxic families. So what needs to change? What can we do differently, you know? So there's a healing circle that me and my other colleague in healing, Austin, do on a weekly basis, where we discuss healing. And this is where the topic of the challenges that we face as the gobela, I think it must have been 2 years ago, as the gobelas we face, because both me and her 2 years ago, we're in a dark space because of thwasisa, you know. And we started exploring the topic, and we said we need workshops, we need to come up with systems that can help us the gobela, you know. We need to have the retreats that can help us the gobela, because we are not prepared sometimes. We don't have the capacity sometimes. Sometimes, like I'm said, we are expected to be superheroes. We are expected to know everything, and it's hard. Then the type of matwasan that we're getting are people who are educated, who feel that they're better. You know, you can't tell them anything. They are expressive, they are confident. You cannot tell them anything. You know, it's different. It's not like before. You know, it's different. People think they know who they are. People think they know what they're supposed to get. People think they know what they want and what they're willing to tolerate and not willing to tolerate, you know. So what changes can we put in place as Bukobela? What needs to change about thwasisa? Because clearly something is broken and something is not working. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it here because my poor husband is waiting for me. I'm gonna leave it here. Share with me your thoughts, your views, what you think, and yeah, until next time, it's your girl Makosi K. Thokozani Makosi.